to own their own home, right? As rightfully stated earlier, I was basically listening to the devotion and so forth and the scriptures, and it speak to home as a place where there is high level of comfort. And at the National Housing Trust, our aim is to provide such level of comfort to each contributor, right, who have been contributing to the NHT for a particular time. Now, what I'll be doing today is basically just give you a brief run through of what the NHT does and how the NHT can assist persons who want to own their own home. The last aim was stating that you're going home soon, and we'd love to take care as fast as possible as your hearth the home, enable you to get that key to the NHT, from the NHT. Outside of that, persons who have already owned their own home and they want to repair or modify such unit, I'll give you the necessary information that you may need in order for you to get that done. All right. The NHT, our sole purpose really is to increase and enhance the housing stock in Jamaica. That is our mandate, right? And the reason behind it is one of the what you call the necessity of life, shelter. And we don't just want person to be living in an house already paying rent. We want those persons to be empowered of having their own house, right? As such, our vision is really to be ranked among the leading housing agency, not just in Jamaica nor the Caribbean, but the world, and improving the life of Jamaicans through home ownership. Now, what we do at the NHT, we give you loans to buy, build, or repair, right? So 3 categories we focus on is either you want to buy a house, you want to build a house, or you want to repair. And by virtue of that, we generate funding as well for housing construction. So you would see other developments. We have a GPP program where we help large contractors to bring housing to the market in a system with the NHT. Now, how are we funded really? The NHT is really funded through the contributions. Persons who are online and you're employed, and you may see a line item coming out on your pay slip, the NHT is 2% of your gross salary, right? 2% of your gross salary. And then we have another category of workers that we consider to be self-employed, and they pay 3%. So that category, no, they would have to pay that 3% to the tax office, right? So if somebody like somebody who is a barber, hairdresser, these persons can pay their NHT and they'll pay through the tax office. And what tax office will charge is 3% of the amount that they have declared that they are earning per month. And that is, those payments are made on a quarterly basis. And then we have another category. These persons are what we call voluntary contributors. So they are not required by law to pay the NHT, right? But they want to pay the NHT. Once they're a Jamaican, especially Jamaican living overseas, they can contribute to the NHT, but they as well will pay 3%. Now, there's a difference between the voluntary and the employed. The employed and self-employed, they're local. The voluntary, as I said, persons who are not required by law, so somebody who has been retired and they want to continue paying NHT. They probably retired at 65 and NHT give you up to 70 years, and they want to continue because they may want to just modify a unit that they have or so forth. So they will be allowed to do so. As for the overseas contributors, they would have to wait 2 years to benefit from the NHT. Whilst if you're employed or self-employed, you wait 1 year. And I don't want to say 1 year, you wait 52 weeks. Because if you're working and you are now unemployed and you were working for 6 months and you become unemployed, that 6 months is broken and then you start working again, we will sum all the weeks until you reach at 52 weeks. And that is when you reach the point of qualification. But what we've been looking at is the last 3 months of ensuring that those payments are current. All right, but you must contribute at least 52 weeks of contribution. Right? So 52 weeks, of which the 13 must have been at least 26 weeks immediately before your application. So once you do the 52 weeks and you're looking to apply to the NHT, right, 13 of the payments must be made in the last 26 weeks. So that explains that. Persons who really can pay the NHT has to be between ages 18 to 70 years old. And these persons must be gainfully employed, right? And I spoke to the category earlier on, is either you're employed, you're self-employed, or you're voluntary contributor. All right, why the NHT? Why should I come to the NHT as opposed to another financial institution? What's the big ticket item? For the NHT, the big ticket is our interest rates. Our interest rate is the lowest in the market. And as a result of that, your payback is much lower, right? And we give you up to 40 years to basically repay this loan, or up to 70 years old. So if you're 30, you get the full maximum of 40 years. And as you get older, 31, 32, you start subtracting. So what this is saying to personal, the earlier start, the better it is. Why? Because as the years get lower, your monthly payment get higher. Because if I give you $100 per se, right, and I'm asking you to pay by this $100 in 10 days, and you say, okay, I'll pay $10 each day. But if I say 5 days, it's changed now to 20. The same principle applies, but it's just at a much larger sum because we're dealing with housing now. Now, all the interest rate is applied. We look at your income. So we look at your weekly income, and persons who are earning between the minimum wage and $15,000 per week, the interest rate is 0%. Persons who are working 15,000 to 30,000 per week, the interest rate 0%, right? So if you find anywhere in Jamaica where housing concern and you hear 0% of the interest rate, you can give me a call on that. But I'm sure that's not going to be possible right now. And persons who are earning 30,000 to 42,000, your interest rate is 2%. And persons who earn 42,000 and above per week, the interest rate is 4%. Now, we even go further. As a government body, what the NHT and the government has done is basically for public sector workers. If it is that you work with the public sector, your interest rate is discounted 1%. So you look at the income band to which I just explained, 17,000, 7,200 to 15,000, 0%, 15,000 to 30,000, 0%, 30,000 to 42,000, 2%. You just, from that is 1% if you're public sector, and 42,000 above, 3% if you're a public sector. We go even further with that. From the general rates that we apply, we discounted by 2% if you're 55 years and older. So the highest income band, which is 52,000 above, they will pay a maximum of 2% interest rate, right, on the loan that they borrow to buy, build, or repair. And now, when we look at persons who also are disabled, and the same thing applies, 2% discount from the general rates. So all persons up to 42,099 per week, they will pay 0% on the interest rate. What this means, whatever you borrow, you pay back. And person earning over 40,000, 2%. All right. Now, buy, build, or repair. Now, persons have different wants and needs as it come on to home ownership. Some persons like their own touch, they want their own start. So those persons will think about building their own property. You have persons who want it already done, or they want a fixer-upper. Those are considered to be on the open market. Whilst you have the others that will say, I want an NHT scheme. That's on a different note. Now, if it is that you want to buy a property on the open market, the NHT gives you a maximum of $6.5 million, right, for each contributor. So once you have contributed for 52 weeks, right, you meet the criteria as I stated before, and we'll look at your salary. And once you can afford up to $6.5 million, sorry, you will get that amount. Now, you may be saying, boy, Mr. Hall, $6.5 million and the housing market right now, how am I going to manage? All right, so the NHC will look at that too. So what we think about is persons combining, both persons being an NHC contributor, you combine, and you can get up to $13 million if you want to buy a house on the open market. All right, but now, go to a different side of it. No, you want to buy a piece of land. Yes, we do give you funding for land. We give you up to $2.5 million for land, right? And the same thing apply. You can, two persons can combine again. So you can get up to $5 million once two persons are applying. Now, understand these numbers that we're looking at is subjected to your affordability. So we look at your salary. And because our system is so flexible, we look at the salary, look at the interest rate, we look at the income band. So we try our best to give you the most for less. All right. Now, you get up to $2.5 million per contributor and up to $5 million if it's co-applicant. The difference, if it is that you're in a house lot, you buy the piece of land and you want the remainder to build, the difference between the 6.5 and the 2.5, you'll get that amount to build on the land. That's what we consider as our construction loan. But what if you already have your own land? Yes, we do give you funding to build on your own land. But understand this, the NHT operates on an accord where we speak to first-time homeowners, right? So if you have a house already with your name on the title, you can only get, you didn't get it through the NHT, you can only get an amount to improve that property, right? So once your name is on a title already, you only can get funding to improve that property. But let's say your parents or somebody put your name on the title for security purposes. You can always write to our branch manager and request and state the reason why your name was placed on that title, and so that you're able to access your full entitlement of the 6.5 if it is that you're qualified for that amount. Right? So the NHC again will look at open market, we're learning for open market, remember up to $6.5 million, right? And if it's two persons coming together, up to $30 million. If you want to build on your own land, you own a piece of land, you get up to $6.5 million, right? You own the land, you come to NHT and you want to build on that land, you get up to $6.5 million. But if it is that you want NHT to help you buy the land and then you build, NHT will give you 2.5 per person to buy the land, and the remainder from the 6.5 to build on that land, right? Now, some person may be like, all right, I own my own house. And as I said, if you own your own property, you contributed to the NHT, you haven't benefited, and you didn't get anything from the NHT, you can always come to the NHT to assist you in modifying that property. We only give you up to $2.5 million. Two persons coming together again, $5 million. So persons, you have different scenarios that you can look at. Person might want to, your family might expand and you want to put on another room, or you may just have some repairs that you have to get done. And the NHT is right there. And as I said, the reason why the touting of the NHT, the interest rate is it starts at 0 and it ends at 4, and it is still the lowest. All right. Now, if it is though that the NHT gave you funding already to buy a property and you want to improve nonetheless, the NHT, you'll have to wait 15 years if you're a part of the private sector to access that funding to improve the property. And from the public sector, you'd have to wait up to 10 years. So the public sector gets a discount of 5 years wait time in order for them to access additional funding to do any repairs on the property. And person been asking, so boy, well, I just to the OUR putting out something about JPS and light. And so, a lot of person might be trying to shift to go towards solar panel. And the NHT does give you loan towards solar panel. They'll give you up to $2.5 million for that. And again, two person applying, you just multiply that by 2. Now, with the solar panel, the same thing applies. The years to wait, if it is that you already got a loan from the NHT, 15 years if you're a private sector, 10 years if you're a public sector. All right. If you have never gotten any benefit from the NHT, you own your own property and you want a benefit because you've been contributing, we give you up to $2.5 million to improve that property. Someone may ask, so can't I get that $2.5 million to purchase? The only way you could access that, if it is that you're going to, that $2.5 million for a new purchase is getting rid of the existing property, right? Or, so that's the only way. But otherwise, it's basically to improve the property. Now, we understand, and this is something that first-time homeowners, you have to listen carefully to this side of it. Whilst the NHT is there, right, and we finance and we give you up to the 6.5 as stated, and 2%, $13 million. The real call comes from what is it and where is it and how do I start my process in achieving home ownership, all right? The first thing one should be thinking about is that deposit. How the market space is, basically on average 10% deposit required of the cost of the property. So for simple maths, we're going to use $10 million, right? Now the property costs $10 million. 10% is $1 million. For you to get that $1 million, it's a matter of you. Now we're going to talk about sacrifice. We're going to talk about being disciplined. We're going to talk about saving, because the task at hand, it's not a walk in the park where housing is concerned. It takes sacrifice. It takes that step that you'd have to put down some funding towards your deposit, right? But what NHT does for our contributors is basically we give that contribution that you make every month, right, and every year. If we accumulate that funding, and we call it contribution refund towards a deposit. So every on the 8th year, NHT give you back the amount of money that you contributed on the first of that 7th year. So for argument's sake, we're now giving refunds for persons who contributed in 2013, right? So we are now giving back persons that so the funds that are not yet due for refunds, so 2014 onwards, what the NHT does is advance that funds to you so it can go towards a deposit. A simple maths again. Let's say your contribution towards the NHT for the year is $50,000, right? It's 50,000. And then we're looking at from 2014 to 2021. So we're looking at 7 years. That's 350,000. For the same $10 million house, you know, I have to look at 650,000. So that scenario change because you can access that fund from the NHT. It is called the contribution refunds towards your deposit. And it's not only deposit that it goes to. If you want to use it towards your legal fees, right? If there's a shortfall, a surveyor's ID report, a valuation report, structural engineer report, and even property tax payment, you can access that fund to go towards. Remember, it is not a loan because it is money that will become due to you the following year. So what we do every year that it becomes due, it cancels here. So it's not like you're paying back, right? And that is something that a lot of persons are not aware of. The contribution refunds toward additional fees will come on to then. So the deposit, legal fees, shortfall, surveyor's ID report, property tax, structural engineer's report, valuation, all of those items, it can use to be taken care of it. Now, when we look at the marketplace and what the housing market is just the numbers are just going up. It just continues to go up, and you know, as the dollar value go down, cost of living go up. So yeah, persons will earn below $15,000 per week. The NHT is saying if this person has been contributing to the NHT for 7 years, and at this point the person is earning $15,000 per week, that person is eligible for a grant of $2.5 million, right? So a grant, this is money that they don't pay back. So to purchase a house. So when you get that $2.5 million, what we then look at what you are qualified for and add that 2.5 million. But as a single applicant, when we add that 2.5 million, it should not go over 7 million. For co-applicant, when we add that 2.5 million, it should not go over $9 million. So it is that this home grant is for persons who are earning 15,000 or lower. So it's 7,200 to 15,000 per week, basically. And if it is that they have contributed for like 7 years prior to that. All right, what else the NHC can assist with? All right. Let's say a parent, right? He or she owns their own property. They are below 65 years and they have been contributing for over 10 years. And they also own their own home, but they have a child and that child is seeking to purchase their own property now. That parent has never benefited from the NHT. That parent, remember now, if that parent goes to the NHT, they will only access 2.5 because they already own a property. So they'll only get 2.5 to assist them to repair that property. But if it is that they are opting to assist a child, they can get the amount that they are entitled to. If they are entitled to 6.5, if it is that they were going to buy for open market, they would have gotten that to assist the child. So whether the child is biologically or legally adopted, they will get an additional amount basically. So that child can basically access up to $30 million. But the thing is now, the child's salary should be able to carry the total amount that the NHT loan to that child. Now, there is also what we call a parent assist 2. This is basically looking at parent assist 1, I'm sorry. This is basically looking at parents who want to assist their child, never benefited, and they generate points. Now, when I get into the scheme side of things, I tell you how that works. I just want to continue to look at if it is that you're buying a house on an open market and so forth. We know the issue, we know the problem, we know the affordability. And while I'm on the state of affordability, what I could say to persons that are online now, your first property doesn't necessarily mean is your last, right? That is one thing I want persons to just have as a major takeaway. The reason for saying this is The longer you take to purchase a property, the harder it becomes as you go along. But when you make a purchase of a property, each year that property value increases. It therefore means that there's equity being developed. What I mean by that is like if it is that you buy a property for the $10 million again, and the property, let me use even a $6.5 million. Let's say a property for 6.5. And after 5 years, that said property can be for 8.5 because the value grows. Now the value growing on the property therefore means equity being developed. So if you sell that property, right, you are able now to garner enough deposit to buy a house more expensive and at the same time more in your view that you want. Outside of that, I would say to persons too, when you buy a house, you just make that house your home because again, it is yours. It is yours. So the focus on trying to get a property in a particular area and that property never comes and you're aging. And as you age, it gets hard because it gets harder because as the living goes up, one, you have less years to pay back the loan. The monthly looks bigger and you're like, this is hard. But you need to just think about it and say, should I just buy a property here for now? And then maybe I can sell it back and buy it somewhere else another time. It allows the flexibility to do that when you make that early response. Now, when you find that the NHT amount cannot the full amount cannot assist you in getting what you want, we have programs like our joint finance program that we combine with all the financial institutions, the NCB, the Sagicor, Scotia Building, BMBS, JN, First Caribbean, JMMB, First Global, all of these institutions. And what you do, you go directly to that institution. You once they'll check your affordability again, and they will assist you with the remaining balance at their rate. So you'll get the NHT's portion at the NHT's rate, and then you'll get the remaining balance at the specific institution that you have met with. If it is that you opted not to use any of these institutions, what we have is we have a para pursue arrangement. So this is where that other financial institution, let's say a credit union, right? You'll have to go to the credit union, negotiate your mortgage there, and then you come to the NHT. The joint finance is different. You just go to the institution under the joint finance program, and you don't have to come to the NHT. They will deal with all the administrative functions for you, right? They wouldn't have to come to the NHT where that is concerned. And what the purpose, we have to go to both institutions. No. So NHT is when one person's here, NHT, the next thing you hear that goes synonymous with NHT, point. Now, tonight, what we'll understand is that your eligibility, as in how much you qualify for, as in the money, is different from your points. So if you're buying something on the open market, we're dealing with money, right? So it would talk about the $6.5 million. If you're buying on it, where the scheme is concerned as well, we think about your eligibility as well, how much you can afford. But the NHT has a system that we call it PI. It's really priority index entitlement. What we look at if where the development is, if the person live and or work within that area of development. And we prioritize those persons. So we have a development in Kingston and persons live in Kingston and are them work in Kingston. Those persons are prioritized to be selected. Then we look at how long the person have been contributing to NHT. Why? Because they get 20 points for every 52 weeks of contribution. So for every 52 weeks this person contribute, they get 20. So the person with the higher amount of points, right, and then live and or work within the area of development, they will be pushed to the front. And then last, we look at if it is that the person can actually afford it. So while we have to look at these criteria, it's that you have persons who are younger and they want a house. But at the same time, there's the boy, but not everybody is old and they might, but the person older, as I said, it becomes harder as years go by because you have less years to pay. So we try to balance the scale for basically to see if we can to assist all different categories of contributors. Right. So that's all the scheme thing where the scheme thing look at points. And as I said, we look at if it is you live under work within the part of the development. If the development is in Mandeville and you live in Kingston, but you work in Mandeville, you would put your Mandeville address where you work because that's where that's the only likely way you would be selected if you are selected among the person. But one thing one person must understand is that when NHD put out solutions, like 100 solutions, you might get 5,000 people applying. It doesn't mean that the 5,000 people are qualified for these units. It just means that they are applying for it. So persons always get pulled back, say, boy, too much people, and no, apply, because you don't know the next person's reality. You don't know anything about it. So you just focus on your goal, your dream. All right. So for the NHT, we know we do have one scheme that's upcoming. As to the date to which we are going to launch for application and so forth, it's tentative, but likelihood it would be early to mid October. This is Ruthven Towers. This is in New Kingston. There are 86 units, and of which is 14 2-bedrooms, 72 1-bed. The overall development will include pool, tennis court, jogging trail, ample parking, and so forth. Viewing and so forth will be soon as, but up until we get some solid date to which we could put that out, I could inform person further. What I want to say to persons online though, whilst we are committed, right, to provide quality housing solutions for all our contributors, there are some key things that as individuals you must remember. You must remember it is your goal that you wish to achieve. You must remember it requires discipline. You must remember it requires that level of sacrifice to save, because saving is important. It's important for two things: to get your deposit to buy the house, and also when it comes on to maintaining a house, you need to know how to manage your funding like that. And mark you, it's not an easy road, but once you put your mind to it and you start putting the necessary things together, with prayers and all, you will achieve it. All right. So the NHD is there to assist as an person to person and give personal advice and a walkthrough. I'm also here to fully assist anybody who want to get through this process and own their own property, right? So,
Wanza,
yeah.
can we take a break now and come back? We'll take a song.
I'm finished now.
All right.
I just wrapping up now. So really, persons, when you come back, you can always ask me any questions that you deem to. And I'm gonna put a link in the chat where persons can fill that out. And if you want to talk throughout the week, we can do that.
All right, because there are some questions there too. So, all right, let us take the break, and when we come back, we'll deal with the
Yeah, ma'am.
question. All right, we will have Sister Millicent Levetto singing for us at this time.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Sister Millicent.
I never met a fortune. Probably not too late. Oh, but I don't worry about that much. 'Cause I'm happy anyhow. As I go along life's journey, I'm reaping better than I've sown. I'm drinking from my saucer, Lord, 'cause my cup has overflown. Ain't got a lot of riches. Sometimes the going gets rough, but I got a friend in Jesus, and that makes me rich enough. I thank God for all his blessings on me and the mercies he bestowed. I'm drinking from my saucer, Lord, 'cause my cup has overflown. You know, right now you may be going through some rough times in your life, but I'm here to encourage you today not to give up. I pronounce a blessing upon your life, upon your family. You must prosper and be in good health. In the name of Jesus, I believe with all my heart. So Lord, help me not to grumble and to complain of the tough roads I have owned. I'm drinking from my saucer, Lord. I'm drinking from my saucer, Lord, 'cause my cup has overflown. And if I should go on living, if I should go on living, sure the way gets steep and rough. May I ask for no other blessing, Jesus? 'Cause I'm already blessed enough. May I never be too busy. I won't be too busy to help a brother. There is Lord. I'm drinking from my sauce, Lord. Drinking from my sauce, Lord, 'cause my cup has overflown. I'm drinking from my saucer, Lord, 'cause my cup has overflown.
Amen. Amen.
Amen. Amen. We thank you so much, Sister Levetto. I'm drinking from my saucer, for my cup has overflowed. Thank you very much. Back to you, Mr. Hall.
Okay. All right. Let's say if persons have any questions that they would want to ask directly, they could go ahead, ask some questions in the chat, and Chanel is answering quite a few, one of which was the prices for Ruthven. Those prices are not yet available for publish. But I can say it will or should be available by the end of September. Persons who are interested, that said link that I put in the chat, you could always fill it out, because what I will be doing is make contact with those individuals. Even if that you're looking at something else on the open market, you can always give us well, I'll add your information to the link. The reason being, at least you have somebody directly at NHT that you can make contact with, and we can walk you through the process and even put you onto a loan officer where you think your business can be dealt with or expedite quickly. Any questions?
Please raise your questions. Mr. Hall is here to answer them.
Hello, good night.
Mr. Neil.
Right.
Lambert Forest, good night.
Good night.
Hello.
Good evening.
Yes, my question is, I am a retired person, and I would like to know what would be my entitlement from the NHT as it relates to refund.
All right. If you're a retired person,
Yes.
you will get what we call considered to be a total refund. So all monies that you have not collected from the NHT, you'll get back all of that. What you'll have to provide though is that retirement letter, and it depends. If once you reach age 65, you will get your monies back, and you get up. I think it's up to 10 days that that money will be remitted to your account. So what you need to provide is your NIS, TRN, your ID.
Yes.
Again, the proof of the letter show the proof of retirement. And
Yes.
in fact, once your ID will show your age as well. And another thing that is required, I don't know how easy it is to get that document now since so COVID, but what we call a verification letter. And that you would have to get that from your previous employer.
So, okay. In my case, I would have worked with 4 employers. The last one, that one is easy to get. I work with them for over 10 years. But I work with Ministry of Youth and Community Development from 1981 to 86. Industrial Commerce from 86 to 89, and then the GIS from 89 to 91. So I would have to get from all of those sources.
No, it depends. Question to you: have you received any form of refund before?
I think I got one before my last employment, the one for 10 years. I got one, but that one was with, I think it was Industrial Commerce and the Shell Company. I didn't get the one for when I work with Youth and Community Development.
If it is that you didn't get that amount, maybe what would have happened is that we wouldn't have been seeing that on our system. But that was then. What you could do is check with the NIS office. They will have information of your contributions as well for those years, and you'll bring that document to us. And I think it's easy to get it from them. Just so that you need a verification of your contributions over the years for you to get your refunds from the National Housing Trust.
I thank you. I think they gave me something like that when I applied for my NIS.
Okay.
So I could bring that in.
Bring that document as well.
All right. So what do I do? I need to bring it into the office?
Yeah. Online, what you could do is online, you'd have to download the contribution refunds form, and you look for the retiree form, right? And you download that, fill that out, email it to WeCare. That's WeCare, WECARE.
Yes.
At NHT.gov.my. dot
Let me just write.
GO.
Let me just write that.
Perhaps you could type it in the
I'm
chat.
gonna type it in
all.
the chat. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Thanks, sir.
We care.
All right, it's in the chat.
Okay. Yeah. So you were saying I send that into We Care. Anything else?
No, that would be it. So they would make contact with you, and then they'll ask you to send the other documents like NIS, TRN, and ID. You could take pictures of it and send it in.
Okay. Okay. I thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
So you have some hands up. Sarika and Antoinette.
Right. Go ahead, Sarika.
Hello, good night.
Good night to you.
For persons who are living overseas and want to make contribution, can you explain exactly that process for me?
All right. For you to make contributions and if you're overseas, there's a form online to which you'd have to download. It's called a voluntary contributor form. Is that a voluntary contributor or overseas contributor? Right? Once they fill that form out, it's a one leaflet form, simple, very simple form. They must have their NIS, TRN, and ID, copies of those, and they send it to said email address. Or if it is that they have family here in Jamaica, they could send it to such family with a letter of authorization stating that they have given you authority to do business on their behalf, and have that letter signed and stamped by notary public or justice of the peace. All documents that are being copied, whether the NIS, TRN, or ID, should also be signed and stamped. And they fill the form out. And once we fill the form out, they must make a monthly pay, the first month payment, which is 3 months of what they declare. So the question is maybe what they may declare dependent if the NHC don't ask what they're doing. And a proof of you declare the amount that you want.
Okay, and how long after contributing voluntarily are they able to benefit from their contribution?
2 years.
2 years. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Antoinette?
Hello, good night, everyone.
Good night.
It's not Antoinette, it's Annette.
Annette,
yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm so sorry.
Yes, that's okay. So my name is Annette Johnson. And this question that has been bothering me. It was said that low income earners were to get 6.5 mil, right? And I thought that will cut across the board for low income workers. When I went to NHT and I asked the amount that I'm entitled to, I was told that's 5.8. So I just don't understand how the 6.5 come across. I don't get it.
All right. Oh, the 6.5 works. When we use the term the 6.5, it's there for everybody. But what is very important is if it is that your salary can afford the 6.5. So it is as a result of how much your salary can afford. So providing that you got a eligibility letter stating 5.8 is when the NHC looks at your pay slip, realize that if it is that we give you the 6.5 and we look at what we call a debt service ratio. So we look with the boy, when we take out NHT money, it should be able to survive on it. But when we look at that, we realize that that wouldn't be possible. So we give you as much as possible so that you can afford to pay back the loan and so forth. So that is why we said up to 6.5. So it's not explicitly that everyone must get 6.5. It's up to 6.5. So person may get 5, person may get 5.5, person may get 6.5. That's
Okay,
about
so
6.5 is the maximum that you
okay,
can get.
okay, then I understand that. So do you have an idea the lowest amount that the person have to be working to get that 6.5?
That is dependent on two variables, your age, right? And as I say, so that is something that would have to talk to one-on-one. So if you fill out the link that we have to put in the chat, and then when we give you a call, you just explain to us, and we can do the checks and balance for you, and so you can know exactly how to step forward.
All right, another question before you go, please. Thank you for answering that question.
No problem.
All right, when it comes down to joint mortgaging, all right?
Yeah.
If I get the 5.8 from NHT and I go to a bank and get the others to make up to purchase the house, who do I go to when I find the house? Do I go to the bank first or do I come into NHT?
You go directly to the bank because the bank will make contact to the NHT.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
You're welcome. Kim Loy Latham, Big Barker.
Hi, good night. I just joined this session. I was just informed that there was a session, and the question I'm asking may have been given or discussed earlier, but who are the persons classified as low income earners? I'm a teacher, so I'm wondering if I would fit that classification.
All right, that's a very good question. In a time like this, low income earners. The NHT look at low income earners. We probably look at persons who are earning below, for the NHC directly, they look at person earning below 15,000, from 7,200 to 15,000 per week. I think what is happening, why a lot of persons making mention of the low income, is because the housing that has been going on. So what is real is that we try to create more affordable housing, affordable right across the sectors. So it means if Tom Brown earned 40,000, he's contributing to the NHT. Mary Jane earned 20,000, she's contributing to the NHT. We're trying to bring developments that suits Tom Brown and Mary Jane. So the low income earners, why we use that figure is because those are the persons that we will give grants, right? So persons who earn $7,200 to $15,000, they can access a grant once they have been contributing for 7 years.
All right, so my second question is, what is the classification that supersedes the low income earners?
The classification that supersedes the low income earners. We don't have a classification. These are just, we look at persons of this kind, just contributors to the NHT, being able to access low income loans.
All right, so then if there's no classification,
low interest loan, sorry.
All right, so then if I'm not a low income earner, how much am I liable to get from the NHT?
From the NHT, you're likely to get up to $6.5 million. There are instances where you could access more, depending if it is that we have a development fund and the NHT has put out an ad that we will be giving up to, like for our schemes now, we're giving up to a maximum of $15 million once you can afford it. But these are, once the NHT put out, it's not all for everything, right? So for now, we're giving up to $50 million. So if it is that your salary can afford more than the 6.5, you'll be able to access that per unit, right? And that is for NHT scheme now. So NHT scheme exclusively. So nothing, not if you're buying a house from Mr. Brown.
I understand that, but why sell a house for 14 million when I can only access 6.5?
No, all right.
And I don't have, are you, persons are being forced to join with someone, especially if you're a single parent. how would you find that person to join with? That's difficult.
And I do understand, because that's an issue that a lot of persons have. But these are changes that will have to come in policies, and it would have to be government making certain changes to basically allow persons that are within that group to access more than, as you say, we give you up to 6.5. Or the fact is, because one other thing that we have to look at is that if it is that you only can access 6.5, we cannot give you 7.5. Like if your salary only can afford X, why give you Y? If we give you Y, it's going to burden you, and then it's going to be a delinquent as in it pertains to the payback. So we have to have a financial responsibility as well, whereas we are not giving somebody more than when we look at their finances, we say, boy, we don't, it's going to be hard for them to afford.
Okay, so you're saying once you can afford more than the 6.5, you will get more.
And that is exclusively towards an NHT scheme, nothing else. The more and the more will only be capped at $50 million. So if you can get more, remember, as stated, NHT scheme and NHT scheme only. And we will advertise, when we advertise, we state as to how much a person can actually get, one person. And if it is that they can get up, we are now capped at $15 million for a unit. So if a unit come out for $14 million and you can access the entire 14, the NHT will give you that amount. And that is for NHT scheme only. That answer your question?
Yes, it has. Thank you.
I see a Samsung A31. I don't know who that is. And
hi, good night.
All right, good night.
Question. Earlier, you had mentioned that your method of selection, particularly for scheme houses, you use PI. And you had also explained that if a person currently lives and work in the area, they will be priority in terms of selection, right? So what if a person applies, but they neither live nor work in the area, but they meet the other areas of selection, the other criteria? Will they still be exempt from being selected?
All right. That they would. Let me tell you why. It's a very, very rare situation where we see our units undersubscribed. And that's the only way we'll be looking at the person that falls outside of the criteria that I explained. Why? Because whenever we put out any scheme, we get 7 to 10 times more persons applying that lives within the area or work within the area. So the likelihoods of that happening is very, for the situation that you just stated, is very low. But if it do happens, then that's how we look into that group. So it's not that we kick them out. We have to do that process of elimination. And when we reach those persons, we say, okay, then nobody in Kingston can afford it. Nobody in Kingston basically who works or live in Kingston can afford it. So let's go to the next closest parish. That's what happened.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
All right. Vilma Richard.
Hello.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Just a quick question. What happens if a contributor dies? What happens to that contribution if he was unmarried?
If he was unmarried?
Yes.
All right. So I'm assuming that he didn't have a will, was unmarried, have kids?
Yes.
But if he had kids, they could do what you call a deceased claim. Is their mother alive, by the way?
Yes, I'm the mother. I'm asking for my son.
Okay. So, and the kids are What age?
It's a minor, 5 years, so won't be
Okay,
able
so
to do anything.
the mother, then you will then you can apply for deceased claim. So then you'll have to get his copies of his NISTRN, valid ID, death certificate, and verification letter. The verification letter, you'd have to get that from his previous employer.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, man. So Emma Marie.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, my question is, well, like I have to give you the scenario before I get to the question. Okay, so someone takes a loan for an open lot, right? In a, I'm not even sure if it's an NHT, if it was an NHT scheme, but they would have paid off that loan by now. So the 15 years that they get to pay it off, they would have paid it off. And so the person would have bought a house. After buying the land, the person would have bought a house. So now that land is still there, finished paying for it. Now NHT is offering the 15 plus loan. Can this person take this 15 plus loan and build on another land apart from the land that they bought first?
Apart from the land that they bought first?
Right.
Yeah, man. That loan, because the land that they bought first, don't they have a construction loan with the NHT? Or did you get the loan to buy the property first, the land first that you got?
Get the loan. The loan was to buy the land, and then the remainder of the amount that the person would have been, say for example, you're qualified for 6.5, and you take $1 million and you buy the land. The following, the remainder of the 5.5 was used to purchase a house.
Right.
So now the person is wondering if they can get the 15 plus loan to build on another piece of land. Not the piece they took the loan to buy from NHT, not the one that they have the house on, but a separate piece of land.
Yeah, I understand. What they would have, that money is that they will be using, or the NHT works with that, is that they would have to get rid of the existing property. Well, they because they do have a loan now, otherwise with the NHT, right? They want a construction loan.
No, it's not a construction. Well, I wouldn't call it a construction house. The house was bought with the remainder.
Right, that with the remainder, but they are still paying that loan.
Right.
And how long they have been paying that loan? Over 15 years?
It's not 15 years since they've been paying that one.
Okay, no. So if it's not 15 years since they've been paying that loan, first of all, they wouldn't be able to access the $2.5 million. Outside of that, though, let's say it was 15 years, that $2.5 million wouldn't be used. They wouldn't give it to be used to build another property. What they will do is basically for you to buy another unit, and in buying, you would have to transfer the mortgage that you have with the existing property to this new property. So in essence, you'd have to get rid of one property and get the next.
Okay. I
like you don't understand.
Why I'm a little bit baffled is because NHT sent a letter to say that come in, we will give you this $2.5 million. So I'm wondering if NHT would not have been doing their checks and balances to say, okay, this account has two mortgages, one finished paid for, the land is finished paid for, the house is still ongoing. So why would they be inviting someone to come for the 2.5 million if you cannot get that 2.5 million to do whatever?
All right, let me tell you, sometimes when you get a blast like that, it's basically looking at it's not looking at the intricacies, because situations like this, to how this house was acquired, there are unusual situations where a person changed from the land and then go and buy another property with that said money. So you find that when the system, sometimes it's a blast from the system itself, right? But what you could do is you could provide a name, and I could do further checks for you, and then I could further inform you, so you can know exactly what's happening with that specific account. So I can look back at it and see the reason why an officer would have sent you the information in that regards.
How could you be contacted? I'm sorry, I just joined the meeting. So if you did before, I'm sorry I didn't get it.
All right, no problem. I just sent a link in the chat. You can just click on it, put your information in, and you can probably, there's a section where you could just state what your issue is, and we'll make contact with you. Either myself or Miss Shaniel Williams, who is also in the chat, or you may get a call from a loan officer.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. All right, those hands being up, like Annette Johnson, I spoke to her already. Mr. Fabian.
No, I have another question.
Oh, you have
please.
another question. My apologies.
Yeah, this is my final question. I'm in the process of looking at us, so I just want to make sure that I'm on par.
I like that.
Yeah. Okay. When I went to the NHG, I was told that and I think I heard you said it. Persons showing NHG for 7 years and over, they are entitled to a grant, right? 2.5.
7 years and over and earning between 7,200 and 15,000 weekly.
Okay, so all right, listen to this now. I have been showing NHG for over 20 years. All right. I was told that I am entitled to the grant. Now, based upon what you just said about the salary, so it sounds as if it's based upon condition. So if you are going to add that to what they said that you're entitled to, and you said, okay, then probably you're entitled to 4 million, then the 2.5 will bring it up to 6.5, and you go searching for a house thinking that you would get the grant. So I want to know, is the grant a surety or does it comes with condition? Because I heard they just said based upon the salary.
Yeah, man, the grant, those are the two conditions. You know. The one is that you've been contributing for at least 7 years, and the other is that you must be earning below 15,000 and above 7,000.
Okay, so it's either.
No, both.
So you have to be doing both earning and then the long years of contribution.
Say that again.
So you have to be earning over the amount that you just stated and be doing for over 7 years to get the grant.
Right. So you have to, like, at this point, let's say you're going to apply now, right? Your salary can't exceed 15,000 weekly.
Oh. So there's a balance between the salary.
Right. Because it really, they look for persons once you're earning below that. When we do the calculation, you wouldn't qualify for the 6.5. So that is why we say, all right, we'll give these persons a grant then, because in the real world, they wouldn't be able to with the salary to basically afford a house. So basically, we'll give them up to 2.5. Up to $2.5 million. So as I say, if you qualify for 4 mil, you get 2.5. If you qualify for 5 mil, you're only going to get 1.5, or up to close to 7 million, but you will not get more than that.
All right, one last question now. All right, so once the NHS to the letter and said that you are entitled to that 2.5, that means that it's official, you are going to get that 2.5.
Right. So you have gotten a letter that states that?
Yes. Okay. I got it under the writing in the what do you call that letter? The eligibility letter. Yes.
Remember your eligibility letter, we just ask for your pay slip. When you come in, I will ask for documentation to support. All of that information must be correct.
Yes, it is. And I guess probably based upon the fact that I've been showing it for 20 years. I don't know.
Yeah, man, the basically once it's 7 years and over.
Because I don't want to go looking at us and then be told that I'm not going to get that 2.5.
Yeah,
all right. I understand what you just said. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Fabian Magnish is have a question.
Hello?
Yes.
All right. So I was showing a self-employed benefit, but the business subsequently shut down. Um, but I start up a new business. Now I want to know, how do I start contributing again?
Okay, once you're in the system before, you'd have to reinstate that at the tax office. So you basically will go to the tax office, you fill out a SO4 form, and they will walk you through. So you'll start paying your 3% per quarter.
Okay, so is there a time period that I would have to make lapse read the new business before I go in, or I can go in now? Go in.
No, man, you can go in right away.
Okay.
Miss Williams, Bevisha.
Good night, everyone. So I joined the session late. I'm not sure if this question was answered, but I also would like some information.
Sure.
How long do you have to start paying contribution before you are eligible for benefits? And
Before you're
question
eligible.
number.
All right, go ahead.
Question number 2. What if I'm presently living in a rent house that is for sale and I do decide to try and get that house? What's the process like going about doing that?
All right. The first question is you'd have to contribute for 52 weeks. 52 weeks a year, but if it is that you have broken years and it accumulates to 52 weeks, you can access your NHT once your payments have been current. And current mean that your last 3 months payments were paid on time within the last 6 months. That's one. So that's 52 weeks. You get that. Once you contribute for 52 weeks, you can access the NHT benefit. Your next question was, how do you, if it is at a house that you're living in is for sale, how do you start? First, the start is basically speak to the owner and see how much it's going to be selling for. Determine how much, from then you'll determine what the deposit will be, right? And as stated earlier, you can access your contributions that you have been contributing to the NHT to go to assist you in regards to your deposit. So once you get that information and you have your sales agreement signed, and you can always reach out to us as well, and we will send you the checklist and the necessaries that you may need.
All right, thank you very much.
Remember now, everyone, if it is that you don't want to speak on the platform, the link is there. We will make contact with you. So you can have a one-on-one talk and we can walk you through as you want to in order to get towards your home ownership goals.
Any more questions? Any questions in the chat that we didn't get answered for you? Go ahead and get them. Go ahead and ask the questions. That's what we're here for tonight. Any more questions? Any more concern regarding housing?
Did everyone get their I'm seeing a question here by Neil. It states that what if your spouse acquired an NHT house before marriage, but the other spouse wished to apply for a NHT house? Will the other spouse be qualified for an NHT house? So I guess while Neil is saying NHT house, he's meaning for one of the scheme benefits. And if it is that you're with somebody who has a house already, and your spouse already has a house in his or her name, where the scheme is concerned, you will be able to access a scheme benefit, but you can always access your $6.5 million to purchase something on the open market. The next question by Ms. Murray, do you know how much you're qualified for with the NHT? That is something that we'd have to do for you on a one-on-one check, because it have variables to which you'd have to ask the questions for you to determine that. If not, what persons can also do is go online and check on your mortgage calculator. It will give you a fairly good estimate to start with. Omar is asking, is there any NHT house available? No, because I have the NHT approval letter. Well, the one scheme that are available, not now, but will be soon, is Ruthven Towers in New Kingston. The prices are not yet published, so as soon as they are, we will provide persons who, again, put your information and name and email address on the form. We can always be sending you information. We don't want person to miss out on applying for something and them say, boy, Mr. Al couldn't send me. So we want everybody so they can always have point access to certain information. Miss Yvonne Lawson, no, Miss Michelle Morris first. Sorry, Miss Lawson. Miss Michelle Morris, then you.
Good night. My question is, I'm aware that you can join your NHT benefits. Say that I want to join my benefits with my mother. Would there be an age limit to say that would prevent her from being eligible to access it with me?
Is your mother currently contributing?
Yes.
So once your mother is below the age of retirement and currently contributing, she can basically apply along with it.
Okay. What if she has received refunds from NHT? Would she still be eligible?
Yeah, man, she still be eligible.
Okay, thank you.
Miss Lawson, Yvonne Lawson.
Hi, Mr. Hall, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
The previous person asked the precise question that I was going to ask. If a retiree can co-join with an active contributor for a benefit.
Okay, no, the previous asked if it is her parent, not necessarily a retiree. So
does it make a difference if your parent is at the retired age? Does it make a difference?
Yes, because if it is that the parent is at a retired age and is not contributing, they're not going to be able to access the NHT benefit, because you must be contributing at current to access the NHT benefit.
So am I to understand then that retirees can continue, because I understand that after age 65, you no longer contribute to the fund.
No, you're no longer required to contribute to the fund. But if it is that a retiree have interest to paying NHT out of their pension, or if it is that they have some other income and they have interest, they can request, and the compliance manager will approve or disapprove if deemed fit. But it's not a case, they are not mandated to pay. You know, this is a case where there are no voluntary contributors.
Ah, got you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. A02S, Galaxy.
Okay, good evening, everyone. All right, so my question, you're hearing me?
Yeah, I'm hearing it clearly.
Okay, so my question is, if you let me see, if you are hoping to buy a property or a house with your spouse, I was told recently that somebody who was doing the same thing I was told that when they applied for the property and when they start to get approval on the paperwork, they were told that the person with the lesser salary they would consider their contribution than the person than what they've put together. So it's that they don't consider what the joint thing with both persons, they only consider what the lesser money that the other spouse is having or something like that. I just want to know if you can give some clarity on that. Is that true or
no?
is that the case?
I'm trying to understand fully, but if
All
two
right, say I
persons
have my
combining,
spouse, right? But
you're
he
in,
has a higher salary he gets a higher salary than I do. NHT would look on the salary that I am getting in order to consider if we are able to pay for that property or that house.
Oh no!
Instead of looking at my salary and his salary as a joint.
They look at both, but let's say the property costs 10 million, and you can get 5 or 6.5, and the other person can get a remaining balance, right?
Okay.
The NHT will give that amount. Because what you're saying is that we look at the person with the lower and then we give to the lower, because each person will be required to pay their own mortgage payments.
Okay.
So they are dealt with
differently,
individually where the payments are concerned, and it's an agreed term. So if it is that, let's say both partners come together and one will take 6.5 and the other with the 3.5, it can work that way.
Oh, okay. Oh, I didn't know that. All right, thank you.
Yeah, ma'am. If there's a question by Michelle Morris, if two persons combine their NHT benefits, are both persons required to pay? Yes, the answer to that is yes. Both persons will be required to pay. I don't know if the question that you had is same reason for your hand raised, Miss Michelle, or is it a different Michelle?
Hi, good evening. It's a different Michelle.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. Question. You're a homeowner, and in regard to your title, if you have a child or children, and I don't know if you want their name to be added to the title. I don't know how the NHT look at that. I mean, how can that be done? I mean, is it
okay?
NHT, is it NHT that we need to deal with?
Oh, that's the title's office.
That's the title's office.
Yeah, but let me tell you something about that. When putting, if it's a child, a minor, fine. But sometimes may put your child name on the title. Note that that said child, if it is over a certain age, and or if it is, what could happen then, you probably just write a letter to state that you are putting your child on this title for security purposes, so it doesn't disallow them from getting their benefit from the NHT. Because remember, NHT look at first time homeowner. Once your name is on a title, you're considered a homeowner.
Okay. So you said it's a title's office matter.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks much.
Ms. Cox and Williams.
Okay, good night. Good night, everyone. I know you answered this question. My question was, if two persons join together, can one person ask that they be the sole contributor?
If two persons come together, no. The NHT, both persons will be liable to pay, because we're looking at each loan individually, then combined. So if it is that both persons come, all right, let's say, because this is a question that some person may ask if somebody can actually give you a benefit. So if it is that that's the case, and they want your salary, if your salary can afford it all, and there is a document which the other person will have to fill out to state that they have no interest in such property. So they will relinquish all that benefit. Then in that case, yes.
Okay,
Right?
thank you. My next question is if the other person relinquish their benefits and turn it over to, say for instance, me, can that person be eligible again to get a benefit from NHT?
No.
And no,
Mm-mm.
even after the property has been paid for and so forth?
Even after they have already used their benefit.
Okay, thank you.
Malia Morris.
Hi, good night. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Okay, I need to find out if you have a family member who is migrating and she is desirous of handing over her points, her contribution to you as a relative. How does that work?
They're migrating and the desires of contribute. I remember again where the points is concerned, that is just basically a way for us to determine how to make the selection. If it is that they're migrating and they stop contributing, that point, they wouldn't have that points anymore because you'd have to be contributing to the NHT to access any NHT schemes, right? If it is that they want to assist a relative or a friend here, they could continue contributing while overseas, and they could assist by co-applying with such relative or friend.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
May I have a explanation on how the rent to own works, please?
Rent to own?
Yeah.
NHC presently don't have that policy in place.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Good night, everyone. Are you taking that last question, Mr. Hall, from Mr. McNish?
Yes. Mr. McNish? Mr. McNish, you can go ahead with your question. Okay.
Yes, Mr. Hall. Yes. I want to know. I have two questions really. Is there any update on the development in Colbeck?
No, there it's on hold for now. We don't have any new information.
Okay. All right. Secondly, if someone is overseas, that own a property here and want to the word transfer ownership. What's the process of doing that?
Transfer ownership. So they are paying a mortgage now?
Yeah, they're paying a mortgage.
Through the NHT?
Yes, through the NHT.
Oh, they wouldn't be able. If it is there, if it is that somebody else is going to take on their payment,
yeah.
I don't think it's a case where they can transfer the mortgage. I think if there's a situation whereas if it is that person are together and one person is want to be out and somebody else take over that person portion, it can happen. But if it's a sole person, that's like selling the house.
Right.
So if it's like selling house, it's more like transferring. It's going through the same process as buying and selling.
Oh, so you're saying that it cannot, you can't transfer ownership. You can't transfer mortgage to a next person.
If it is a transfer mortgage, you are requesting the transfer. You're selling the property. You're getting rid of the property. Or is it that you're saying that you want that person, NHT, to take over your loan?
Right, basically.
Right. So in a case like that, it's basically it's maybe it could be on a special approval, something that you probably have to write to the branch manager about to see what they will do in that regard.
Okay. All right. Thanks, man.
Hello, good night again. There's a friend of mine. He's not here, but this has been bothering him, and I just want to see if he can help me out, so I can get back the information to him. He got married and he purchased a house through NHT. He got divorced, and the wife is now saying that she wants half of the money from the house. Is that possible? The fact that the house does not really belong to him, he's still throwing a mortgage. So is it a fact that he should sell the house and give her half of it, or
that's more like a legal issue, man. So you have to speak to a lawyer.
Okay then. All right.
Okay.
All right, if there are no more questions, we're going to close off at this time. All right, what a rich session we have had. I don't know who said it, but ignorance is an enemy, even to its owner. Knowledge is a friend, even to its hater. I know Robert Browning, the English poet, said this: ignorance is not innocence, but sin. Having regard to this, and on behalf of our members and many participants who joined the meeting this evening, I wish to express our deep sense of appreciation to Mr. Hall and Ms. Williams for sharing with us such a wealth of information to enable us to be aware of the ins and outs of home purchase, home improvement, legal and survey fees, and solar electricity system loans and joint financing, among the other important information that was shared with us this evening. We are grateful for this information, Mr. Hall and Ms. Williams, and we know we are better off for having it, as it will allow us to make informed decisions regarding our next steps towards home ownership or home improvement. God bless you both, and thank you so much for sharing.
All right, thank you very much for having us. Thank you. And as I said before, persons can always look out for a call, persons who have submitted their information, and we will just walk hand in hand and see if we can turn some keys or repair some house or whatever it is that make you comfortable in your home. All right.
Thank you very much, Sister Finnegan. We will now close with hymn number 655, Happy the Home. Sister South.
Happy the home when God is there and love fills every breast. When one their wish and one their prayer and one their heavenly rest. Happy the home where Jesus' name is sweet to every ear, where children early his fame, and parents hold him there. Happy the home where pride is heard, and praise is wont to rise, where parents love the sacred word, and all its wisdom bright. Lord, let us in our homes agree, this blessed peace to gain. Unite our hearts in love to thee, and love to all will reign.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
Amen.
Let us pray.